Morning all. Slightly different content for you this week actually. I'm up in Wickham with my dad because my brother's just got a new flat and there's lots of renovations to do. So we're up here to prepare the kitchen for a kitchen install, which I'm also going to be doing in 2 weeks' time. So I just thought I'd show you a couple of things I'm doing, starting with preparing the ceiling in the kitchen. So before Christmas, my dad was up here amongst other tasks. He was installing all of these 38 by 63 CLS timber battens onto the ceiling. And the reason we're doing this is that there is no insulation above here, as far as we know. And the amount of effort to make a big hole somewhere in the ceiling of the flat to stick our head up and have a look is just not worth it. So basically, we're reducing the height of the kitchen slightly. And what I'm doing now is installing these 25mm PIR insulation boards. And then our 12mm plasterboard is going to go up onto the ceiling on top of the battens. And the room is about the same length as an 8x4. So the plasterboard will need shaping slightly on this end. And yeah, we're going to fix it up with screws. I've got to add more of these battens all the way around the edge just to give more fixing points on the ends of the plasterboard. So that's what I'm going to do next, and then I'll put all the rest of the insulation up. The issue I've got currently is that the ceiling has some low spots, and I've tried using a hand plane and butchering this bit that I've cut. See, it's causing it to be proud at one end or the other, and it's taking far too long, so I figured it's time to bring out the big guns. It's 110 volt, which isn't ideal, but when I bought the saw, it was the only one they had during COVID. So then I bought that 110. So I'm somewhat, at the moment, locked into 110 volt, which is a bit annoying, but does the trick. So my solution is going to be, instead of trying to taper this, I'm just going to take it down to, I don't know, 35mm, and then if I need to, when it goes up into the ceiling, I can just pack it out either end to bring it flush with the other wood battens that are already up there. Here's the cut down bit of wood. Let's see how it's going to go in. You know what? I don't think I even need to pack that out either end. I'm just going to get the pocket holes in and screw it up. A little trick I like to use when I'm cutting some insulation board to the right length. So I need 891mm. So I'll take my tape measure and I will measure the length I want to the end of the board, 891, like so. And then I can just take the other end and push the end of the tape measure through, creating that mark. And then all I've got to do is line up my square, grab my knife, cut, flip, cut. Okay. Time to stop for some lunch and, if the weather holds, pick up some plasterboard. But yeah, very pleased with my progress this morning. I've got 1/3 of the room is complete. Most of it's done here. I've got these battens up, just letting the glue, the OB1 dry so they don't drop down. I've left this one clear because one of the next things to do is to work out the wiring, because this light wants to move. And because all the electrics run through steel conduit, in the ceiling, you can't just hide it away because there's always going to be a junction there. So the idea is to run a new cable, but we'll have to investigate and see how feasible that is. But yeah, time for lunch, I think. Checkouts, please, sir. Where are we headed? Electrical for our ideal three-way connectors. I've done as much to the ceiling as I possibly can today. I'll just show you now. So we've got all of this done, bar some insulation up in there and there. I can do that this evening because that's a quiet job, doesn't make much noise. This, as I said earlier, I've left clear because my current task is to work out what's going on with the wiring, and I'll show you that now. So up in the ceiling here, you've got this junction box, and all of the lighting, in fact all of the electrics in this flat run through steel conduit, and you might be able to see up here that it goes up and then there are a few steel conduits running off in different directions. I've killed all of the power, turned off the lighting circuit in the flat, and I'm going to do a continuity test now. So I've taken the supply wire, this red one, that this is where the light was in the ceiling, and I've taken a cable off of that runs down into my multimeter, which is in continuity mode, and then the other probe goes up into another bit of cable, which when I touch it against here will tell me whether or not this end and this end are two ends of the same cable, and if they are, the continuity will show as 0 ohms, and if not, it will show as 1. So this wire on the right should show as 1 because that's for a different light. No change. But if I touch this one, 0 ohms. So this cable, this end here, is the same cable as that end there. Now I've got to see how easily I can pull another cable through, and if I do that, I'll do it at the same time as removing the existing one, because I want to remove the junction here. I want to run a new cable from the switch up to where we're going to put the new lights and not have to hide a junction under the plasterboard. I need to catch you flying through the window. There we go.
Strip the wire. Cement it in.
Okay, progress update. We've taken apart the wiring on the on the switch, the light. We've gone down to the light in the old kitchen, which will be a shower room, and we've also ventured into the hallway, and basically what we're doing is mapping everything out so that we know exactly what goes where. Example here, this is red 1, this is the live supply into the switch. Then yellow 1 and yellow 2, so yellow 2 is the one that comes into the light from this switch. Yellow 1 is the cable that goes into that light fitting from the switch. So when we opened this junction box up initially, all three of the wires, the red wires, were connected in the same chocolate block, and we separated them and did continuity tests between here and here, here and down there, here in the hallway, so that we could isolate and so we could find out which one was the cable supplying the power we know number 1 goes down to the light, and we've since found out that what we've called red 3, that's the power that goes into the hallway. So red 2 is what's supplying us. Morning all. It's 10 o'clock. Slept in. We worked too hard yesterday. Anyway, I'm straight back on it with the electric. So let's flick off the lighting circuit and resume wiring duties. Right folks, here's the plan. Well, I'll show you the plan properly later, but I've basically mapped out the entire flat in terms of its live wires, and that has informed me that the best way forward is to nip out to Toolstation and grab some single core live and neutral wire. So I'm going to do that now. Then when I've got that, I'll explain what the hell's going on here. So the conundrum I had yesterday was working out how I could deal with that ceiling junction box attached to the conduit in the kitchen, and because we're moving the lights from that location, there are a number of connections in there which need to be maintenance free. And if you're going to completely cover up access to a junction box, you need a maintenance free rated junction box. So I've bought a Wago box 221-4, so that is compatible with Wago 221-4 connectors. And the reason it is maintenance free is that you can slide the cable in, and then when you pull it, it won't tug it out. So basically, if you tug the cable one end, it won't disturb them in here. And the only way that I can use one of these boxes is by replacing the existing cables with longer ones, because this box will sit up on the ceiling and it needs to be long enough to come into the box all the way through into this end. So I'm going to run this new cable here. I'm going to attach it, splice this, strip this one, coil it all up and pull it all the way through, so that I've got an entirely new cable going through the conduit, and I'll leave the ends much longer on each end so that I can wire them into one of these boxes. So we've got the first cable, the neutral, run through all the way, but instead of doing the same with the live, we're now attaching the live. We've kept the old black neutral cable and we've now taped the new brown cable. So then we're going to pull it all the way back through, so the new brown comes through to here, detach the brown and then pull it back again, and then we'll have brand new live and neutral cables replacing the old ones. You need some more slack. Here we go, here it comes. Yeah, come on. Here we go, got it. Right, so now you can detach that. I'm gonna detach the brown, and then you're gonna pull the blue one, the black one, yeah, which is, I'm gonna hold on to the brown so it can't move. So we're now doing what we did in the first place. So now we've got 2 lots of cables that are attached to their reels. Perfect. Morning all. Cold one today, isn't it? I'm finally ready to cut the channels, well, measure out where the kitchen lights are going to go, and then route out some channels to run conduit for the wiring I put in yesterday. So I'll bring you along for the ride. The plan to mark the line where I want to route a channel was going to be to use a chalk line, but turns out when you only pay £5 instead of £12 for the chalk line, it means it comes with no chalk. So We're going to use the chalk line and hold it up, pull it tight, and then mark on each batten the locations, and then that will give me my line for routing. Now I'm just going to use a framing square and just extend these lines across. The channel I'm cutting out with the router needs to be 30 millimeters to accommodate the conduit, but I'm going to cut it very slightly wider than 30 just in case between each batten it's not perfectly straight, so that will prevent me from having to make adjustments later on. So I'm just going to cut this strip of plywood to about 32 millimeters wide, and then I can use that, put it against one line that I've drawn up on the ceiling, and then draw the next one for the other side of my channel. Made myself a quick little tool so that I've cut that, I've decided on 35mm, so I can just push that up against there and then draw my line along there, and it speeds things up somewhat. As you can see in the time lapse I just put up, I added this batten, screwed it up, offset by 50mm so that I could just run the router across, and it's worked really well. Done. Okay, I've been out for 2 hours. I had to go to Slough, which was a 30-minute drive to get to TLC Electrical, I think they're called. And I picked up 6 of these surface-mounted panel lights, and this is how they're going to go. So this here is a diagram of our ceiling, same way round as this. And this is where the light comes in, here. So I'm going to run through a conduit along to here, or through the junction boxes, and then we're going to go into the first light, along and back like this, to create 5 lights for the kitchen. Yesterday I installed all of these single core wires, and now I need to work out how to install them. And to do that I've made a mock-up. This is a Hager J501 junction box, which is great because it allows you to secure smaller single core wires in place rather than just your twin and earth. Now, if I open it up, we've got our loop live. These are the wires that are constantly live. They go into this terminal. You got your neutral into here, and earth not relevant in my setup. Importantly, you got your switch live. So one of these wires comes down into the light switch, which is constantly live. When you flick the light switch, it powers the switch live wire coming through into this separate terminal, which also houses the wire for the lights. These come into another junction box, which splits it into 2 cables, which allows me to have all of my lights using the setup that I routed earlier. Time to test my work. Lights on. I think it was Wednesday evening when I finally got the lights working in the kitchen, and it's taken until last night to get them all properly wired in and finished. So what I ended up doing for the lights, it took many revisions and ended up being very simple using stuff we already had. But we ended up using the ceiling roses pushed into the insulation, which means that all of that wiring is accessible when you take the light off, because we'll cut a hole in the plasterboard under each light, and then you just wire your light into the loop and neutral because it's already switched down there. We're finally ready to put up the plasterboard. I've installed the beginnings of a stud partition wall. We need that in now because as soon as the plasterboard's up, we're putting down the self-leveling compound, and we need the rooms to be separated in order to do that. So we'll also have to put something across here to stop it from seeping out. And then if we make good progress, we'll put some tiles down this evening, but that's up in the air at the moment. Right then, show us how it's done. Bastard. Funny down there. Let's get it up. So at the moment, I'm just drilling out the holes where the light fittings are above the plasterboard. And the reason I'm not using a hole saw is A, because we don't have one, and B, because it's important that they're central. And if you take it all out at once and it is not next to, it's not in the right place, then it could impact the ability to fix the bracket onto the plasterboard. Well, the self-leveling compound is down. Don't look too closely. We kind of ran out towards the end and had to scrape some over from other places. But really, the half of the reason it went down was to create a surface that the tiles would adhere to nicely. Having it completely level is a bonus. So, pretty pleased. It's going off now, so should be another hour and a half until we can walk on it. And we're going to go out tile shopping now. All right, it is just about checkout time. Going to have a bite to eat and then head back down to Devon. But let me show you what we've got done this week. So we came up here with 4 main goals in order to be ready to put the kitchen in week commencing the 20th of January. Ceiling, lighting, flooring, walling, which we got 90% done. It would have been nice to get the tiling done, but we got as far as picking out the tiles we want to use and reserving the rest of them because these ones are on offer. Ceramic Tile Company, I think they're called. They're an independent based in Wickham, so it's nice to buy local. And they're going to go down first thing we do when we arrive on the 20th or sometime in that week when the kitchen arrives. And then I've got to close off this wall. But yeah, self-leveling compound down. It's turned out pretty good. All right, just about ready to set off. I can't remember if I showed anyone this. My latest modification to the sliding bed system. These G-clamps, slow down, just slot into here and prevents the bed from moving. Oh, we got wood to go in. There you are.
Where's it going?
Oh, wait a minute. Here you are. Yep. That's good. Yeah, I'll do.